Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirsha Namamaha. Namaste everyone and welcome to our study of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying chapter 13 of the Gita, Ch13 Vibhaga Yoga. We have gone through the sutras, the verses, and now we are revising. Our objective of this revision is to see how we assimilate that knowledge. When we took individual slokas and studied, we are doing what is called analysis. Analysis, when we break a complex concept into parts, and then now we are going to synthesize it. Analysis and synthesis are the two opposite processes. And then we want to see which of these ideas we can utilize in our everyday practice. So normally as you go around your life, you don't run through all the verses. This is what's said in the Gita and all that. You should have some crystallized ideas, a few. You don't have to remember all of them. A few which becomes sort of your focal point and say in different situations, I'm going to see my life, my challenges in this spiritual perspective as taught by Sri Krishna, and work in that light, make decisions in that light, respond in that light, react in that light, interact with people in that light as much as possible. And you'll find that the quality of life, thinking and everything would be much more better. So that's the idea. Verses 7 to 11 are full of what Sri Krishna calls concepts or practices, which he classifies them as jnana. These are important because at the end of the day, you might have some understanding, but what are you going to do? That discipline is a series of teachings, instructions for us to practice. 1 ounce of practice is better than a ton of theory, as they say. So this practice part is there. And last week, we were trying to develop a framework to understand what is happening in the mind space. If we had a capacity to have a telescope or microscope, so to say, and look into our own mind objectively as an observer, and you can see different ideas and thoughts are coming from our subconscious, our memories, and all that. When we are awake, our senses are firing away, eyes are seeing, ears are hearing, so that is coming in there. Then there's something called my own attention that is there. That is so many elements out there, and they're interacting and acting and all that in that mind space. Sometimes we have control over them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they're very uplifting and elevating ideas. We feel great joy. Sometimes it's get caught into some whirlpool of a negative idea and we are trapped in it and we try to get out of it, whether it's some anxiety or stress or worry. All those things are happening. We want to get a better understanding of what's happening in there. And so we were trying to develop this a visual picture of what is happening in the mind space. Your assignment was there. We drew some things on this tablet, on a two-dimensional thing. And you were supposed to reflect on how does that relate to you as a person, as an individual moving around in the world, in time, in space, in duties and responsibilities. So if I say, so where is the mind, if I ask you now? So you say, I'm here sitting as a person in my body, but is the mind inside my head? Or is it somewhere outside? Is the body contained within the mind, or is mind contained within the body? Where is the soul or Atman? Is it something, a small light in my heart, or is that cosmic light in which mind is contained, in which the body is contained? So I think that framework, if we get it right, then we can see, okay, we begin to interact with that. So that's what I was trying to, I would like to take you through. And let us see. Like I said, we will be doing some revisions. Let me pull this out. All right. Okay, I'll put the original framework. Original framework was like We put 3 layers. Off we go. 3 spaces. What's the bottom space? Everyone. Now you have to unmute yourself.
Physical is the physical.
Physical world, space. Okay, so the okay, all right. Physical world. What's the next one?
Mental world.
Yeah. Others are supposed to put all their mics on. Yeah, all right.
And top one is the spiritual world.
Spiritual, or you might say physical body, mental body, and spiritual or consciousness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And outside the physical world, this is the physical means the body. Okay. And beyond outside, so this is the entity that I am, and outside is the external world. Okay. And in the body, we have got 5 senses. What are they called? Indriyas.
Indriyas.
Come on. One person should not alone be saying. Let me pull up. Organs of knowledge. What are they called?
Gyan
Indriyas. Very good. What are they?
Indriyas.
Eye, ear, nose.
So eye, ears, nose, skin, tongue. These are the sources through which energy, whether it's light through the eyes, ears, sound through the ears, are entering into us. So these are receptors. That energy is then delivered to the mental level. So it goes up there, enters there. Okay, and something happens in the mental space. All right, so we said there's an observer guy. Let's put him there who is going to watch everything and say the eye in the sky. Okay, looking down there. And what does he see? So some ideas we're talking about, last time. Can you pick up some of those ideas and embed it in this drawing? What did we discuss last time? So when this energy enters in the mind space, it creates a change. Okay. So this mind, the substance of the mind, what is it called? Mind stuff. What is the technical Sanskrit word for the mind stuff?
Chitta.
Chitta. Very good. Chitta is the mind stuff. So it's like the lake in which some stone is thrown. Through the stone, we have sent in some energy. It creates some ripples or something. We said better than ripples, the better idea to express the change. So the wave in the mind, what is it called? Chitta something?
Vritti.
Chitta vritti. Chitta. Now I'm understanding how many people are revising. Okay. So chitta vritti. What is a good way to represent the vritti? Whirlpool. Okay, vritti. A little bit of whirlpool, some type of energy like a vortex. So you see in water is flowing in a river, every now and then somewhere little whirlpools are. That is how nature sort of perpetuates the transfer of energy. Think of things in the universe, external world, where you see this type of whirlpools.
Oh, thunderstorm.
No. It's in the in a still water. Actually, if something, put a stone or something like that, then you get the whirlpool. Or in
no, when you throw a stone, you'll get concentric circles. Okay.
In the air.
Whirlpools is when the water is flowing down the river and some object is there, some stone, it creates some whirlpool around, moving around like that. But you see, in nature, you'll find a lot of that happening. A tornado is a great whirlpool.
Yeah.
Okay. A cyclone is a great whirlpool. Anything else you can think of? So when a cyclone is formed, you know how it is formed. Of course, you see the satellite photo of clouds is around. There's an eye of the cyclone and the clouds are all swirling around like that, isn't it? But if you had a side view, you would understand that the cyclone is formed because the ocean temperature is now high, the air is rising up, so it's actually going up and it's coming around like that into a more like a magnetic field of a magnet. It's going up there and is forming like that. That type, and spinning at the same time with the vortex. So visualize that in the mind space, the chitta is also disturbed like that whenever some energy comes into it. And we know that in a cyclone, sometimes if there's a low pressure from this side and low pressure from another side, they two collide and suddenly the cyclone becomes even more massive, isn't it? You know, that type of meteorology, you know, so it becomes a super cyclone, a very, very powerful cyclone. Likewise, these vrittis that are created in our mind, they also add up and become more and more powerful. All right, so it feeds, it sucks in the energy into itself and becomes. So what would it be like? Suppose somebody says something that is very disturbing and you get a little angry. So the anger is a vritti now. So in your mind, there's a little bit of whirlpool. Maybe it's starting a little bit, isn't it? And then if that person keeps on teasing you, this and that, then you can see the anger is building up. See, that means the vritti is becoming more and more powerful. And at some point, it will simply totally overpower the whole mind. And that's when you lose control. Now you are under the control of that particular emotion. Likewise, various other emotions are there that create this type of turbulence in your mind, and then it sort of overwhelms the mind and you lose control of who we are. We lose our discrimination and all that happening. So I'm trying to give a framework through which we can understand these type of changes in our mind and how we don't get sort of hijacked by them, but still have control over them. So we said there can be two types of vrittis, okay? Vrittis that are created when the mind is connected to the external world. So let us say this is the level of the mind somewhere here. And some energy is coming from this sense-bound world. So that will be represented by blue vrittis, okay? All right, so like that. And anything that's coming from this below is now creating vrittis from that side. What is the relationship? A little bit of physics, if you don't mind. So this change is the difference between these two is what creates a change. The mind is connected. Mind has got a particular energy level. So we say that is the frequency of the mind, and this is the frequency of something you see, say object that is seen from outside. And the difference, delta F or delta, yeah, that is what is creating the vritti. So if it's very powerful, it can create a very powerful vritti, or it can be just something very small and it doesn't disturb. When the mind is connected downwards, it creates a vritti that is blue. And when that same mind is connected upwards, that means you're thinking of some spiritual thought, meditating on some divine form, contemplating on some spiritual idea or something like that, then that is also creating a vritti. Okay. And that vritti, we will say, is represented by its opposite direction. Okay. All this is happening all the time, constantly. What happens when you close your eyes and all those objects have disappeared? What happens to the vrittis then? They fade away. They're not on the surface of the mind anymore. But
And pulling you either up or down.
No, it's still, I think.
no, same. So you see something. Oh, these vrittis are created by the external world coming into your mind. Some energy is coming. After that has gone, the vritti on the surface of the mind has disappeared. But is anything left behind?
Yeah, it is still in the mind.
Samskaras
Yeah.
left
So
behind.
that residual impression is called impressions left on. They are called samskaras. They are the troublemakers who linger around and say, okay, we are still here. Okay. So they are called the samskaras. And actually, in spiritual life, you'll find that the big battle is with all these fellows that have been collected from many previous lifetimes and this lifetimes. They are hanging in there, and you're out of nowhere. They simply jump on your shoulder and take your mind in a direction. You are trying to tell, let me meditate on God. He is trying to take you to your office or something like this. Okay, something. These samskaras are the ones. So, chitta shuddhi or purification of the mind means making the samskaras weaker. And ultimately, you want to be free from all samskaras and everything. Then you have that chitta prasada, they call it, the calmness and serenity of the mind. That means the mind is now quite pacified. It's not so turbulent like a cyclone type of thing. And in that calm mind, you will get a glimpse and a reflection of the Atman, the inner consciousness that we are. So the initial struggle is with this. Now, verses 7 to 11, starting with amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, shanti, arjava. I want to go through that now, and you tell me what those disciplines are supposed, what changes those disciplines are supposed to be making in this chitta. All right? Are we clear? So we pull up here. This is verse 7. Amanitvam, humility. Adambhitvam, unpretentiousness. Ahimsa, non-violence. Shanti, forbearance. Arjavam, straightforwardness. Acharyopasanam, service to a spiritual teacher or service to a guru. Socham, purity. Sthairyam, stability. Atma vinigraha, self-control. Control of the body. So this is a whole list of ideas that are supposed to be practiced. So when you are, say, practicing humility and not going around boasting your own self. So these are don'ts. Okay, there are certain things are there that will be said, don't do this. Other things are there, the do's are there. Going back to our drawing here, don'ts are supposed to arrest the downward movement. Okay, and the do's are supposed to promote the upward movement. Okay, so we'll say anything that takes us upwards or inwards, so closer to the Atman, we call that dharmic, righteous,
Nivritti.
ethical. Okay, and it's called nivritti. And that which is taking us outwards, we call it
Pravritti.
pravritti. So you see the word vritti comes here again. Chitta vritti, nivritti, pravritti. All that is going on there. Somebody's okay. Yeah, all right. So humility, if somebody is practicing humility, what change do you expect? How do you represent it? So when somebody is not humble, what does he do?
The pravritti increases.
When he's not humble, he gets angry over it. He reacts to situations.
When somebody is humble and somebody is not humble, what's the behavior pattern?
One is calm. One is calm and one is calm and one is not calm.
No, humility. Humility is somebody, suppose, somebody might be very rich, very knowledgeable, this and
arrogance
that.
and
Yeah, he's making a big deal about his physical possessions, wealth or knowledge or this individuality. He's trying to beat his drum. Okay. Another person has got all those things, but he's not making a big issue out of it. He says, it's not me. These are things I have, but they don't define me. I don't want to tell everyone about that.
Is it the ego? Ego? You call it
Yeah,
ego?
so it's around the ego. It's not just the ego. Everyone has got an ego, but some people have got certain good qualities, assets, whatever. Like somebody is very rich. And if he is not humble about it, he'll find various ways to tell everyone that show off or whatever you want to say, and attract attention and get credit for it. But another person could be there, you might not know that he's very learned, he's very educated, all those things, but there's no show around there. Okay, he doesn't make a big deal about it because these are all external things. So when non-humility, you might say, would be related to things from the mind, qualities of the body, like I'm very strong, I'm very beautiful, or I'm of the mind, I'm very educated, and I got a PhD or whatever, Nobel laureate or something, or it could be even something outside, like my possessions, my house, my car, and all those things. So those things he doesn't let define him, because if he does that, then those things hold him down. They become like an anchor. They drag the mind, and his identity and his personality, everything is then defined by this external thing. So in the spiritual journey, one goes through this sadhana, and as he will come across some spiritual wealth, he might have some spiritual experiences and this and that. In spite of all that, one has to practice humility about that, not going around showing off and trying to attract people's attention from outside to define them. Because that tendency will create a trend to attract people's minds of attention and be recognized by that. Okay, so you'll see in a subtle way, all these things are designed, or these teachings are designed to prevent our attachments and to the external world, or detach it from the external world, so that that mind becomes now ready to be attached to the internal world, the world of the Atman, so to say. And that is the whole idea, see? So that is something there. Amanitvam, adambhimta, ahimsa. Why would somebody practice ahimsa? Maybe
Hurting others is hurting oneself.
yeah, hurting others means, so maybe the drawing that should be there is something like this. Okay, so the center is that being, different people, different beings are like spokes of that same wheel. Okay, but all wheels are all the spokes are connected to the same center. So at the essence, at the core of our being, we are all one. That is the ocean. As waves, we are different. So if we hurt another, one wave hurts another wave, one person hurts another person, then we are not asserting our oneness, but we are asserting our difference. That you are different from me, I am different. That's why only one can hate somebody and hurt somebody. But if you're, the less the difference becomes, the more, and the more the oneness is asserted, you will find that all this anger and hatred and hurting others, that automatically disappear. So somebody asked, how do we sort of off the cuff or off the fly decide what should I do and what I should not do? Sometimes you are asked to make some decisions in things at work and workplace. You don't remember in the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna said this, I'm going to remember that and apply that. Let me have some ready, what you call, ready-made guidelines that will help me make a decision. So what is moral and what is immoral? What is ethical and what is unethical? Can we have some very simple, clear, not complex type of parameters or ways of helping us make a decision?
Generally, what we don't want somebody else to do onto us, we don't do it to others. So taking us as a what do you call it, a standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel that morality and ethicalness, it's more about which role I'm playing in what context. Because to me, morality in a particular role might not be ethical for someone in a different role.
Yeah.
Whether it's my job, whether it's my day-to-day life with my family. So that's how.
Some definition. So suppose something you're going to make a decision and say, shall I do this or shall I not do this? And then said, yeah, come on.
So don't you have to be calm? Calm in all
No. So you're going to make a decision. Okay, you make a decision what I should do or I should not do. What would be the criteria or the way you'll decide this is good for me or not good for me?
So that's, I think, what my role kind of decides, what my role says me to do. That's
Now
what I
that
do.
is your job description. Your boss might tell you to do the wrong thing then, see? But that should not define morality. Your own inner value system.
So you analyze the thing or what?
And
I
I don't want to tell. I want you people to speak up.
Before
How
making a
it's going
decision,
to affect me? Like how it's going to affect me in my sadhana? Will it disturb me? Will it create heaps of disturbances in me?
Yeah, of course. So every action has got a consequence. Karma has got a karma phala. Then you're saying, what would be the impact of this decision or action on me? All right. No one wants some harm to come to oneself. Everyone wants some good to happen to themselves. All right. So that's right direction of thinking. But here we want to have a sort of a spiritual criteria. All right. So what are we trying to do through all sadhana? Ultimately, when we say mukti, self-realization, God realization, what is that ultimately?
Being truth to ourselves, being
Truth is a discipline. Truth is a means to that end. Okay. Where are we trying to reach? Look at the drawing. I have said something there.
this is the center.
We are trying to go to the center. Okay. In the center, everything is united in that oneness. All right.
yeah.
Okay. So your criteria then becomes, come on.
The Atman.
Yeah, the Atman is the center. All right.
Swamiji, the criteria then becomes being moral and ethical to reach that one consciousness where I can sort of.
So yeah, good. You're getting there. The criteria. So that will be ethical and moral. Okay, and good for me, which will complete the sentence.
Which takes me towards that one consciousness where
Towards
I can
that
relate to someone.
oneness. Yeah, towards that oneness. Okay. So your yardstick is that, is this going to take me closer to that oneness, the center where we are all connected? If that is so, then I should do this. If it's going to take me away, that means make it separated. The difference between, so if I am sitting here, somebody sitting here, oh, no, that's not the right one. Okay, somebody sitting here, he is going to make a decision. Okay, boss is telling him something or situation. He says, which way should I go? Do I go that way or do I go that way? All right. One of them will take him to the center, the other one will take him away from the center, isn't it? All right. So
Yeah.
the one taking to the center, what you would define that to be? Moral, ethical, righteous, and all those things, spiritually good for me. And the one that takes you away will be defined its opposite. Now you see, this is a very good one. Now you put all these questions, what you call practices that are taught in our scriptures, what are they? Compassion. Compassion means what? Is it taking you to the center or away from the center? When you feel compassion for others, you are asserting that oneness. Somehow I feel for that, that other person is very close to me. Like you naturally feel compassion for people in your own family, or even pet or something like that, or community. But you might not feel the same way from, whom you consider to be other than you, like your enemies, something like that. And two countries are fighting or something. So anything that asserts that oneness kindness, compassion, sacrifice, charity, love, affection, taking care of others, and all those things. You see, the common idea behind them all is that they're all designed to take you towards the common oneness, which is the center, the fact of this universe, existence.
Swamiji, I've got a question here.
Mm.
With compassion and with all these virtues, there are times when you might not be or can't be compassionate with everyone, because you might have something that you want to achieve for the larger perspective. For example, in Mahabharata, when Krishna said that you need to slay the Kauravas, Arjuna talked about compassion initially, but then he was asked to sort of look at them from a different perspective, that you're not killing someone, you're just doing your duty and you're doing your job. So he was against a group of people who don't agree to what he was doing, but he did that
Yeah.
for Pandava's sake, for so I'm just kind of trying to
Yeah,
understand where does this go.
So these are like the broad general principles, okay, that we practice. In that Arjuna's case, he was talking about compassion, but it was not really about compassion. He didn't want to fight. He was making all those excuses. Okay, you're a warrior. You can't send your soldiers to Indian army to another country, and then he says, "Hey, I'm compassionate. I'm not going to shoot at the enemy." The enemy is not compassionate for you. See, it's your duty there to put those things into practice. There are all these cases you'll come across in the Gita that have to be understood in the context of things. Okay, here what we are trying to say is, look, in the scriptures, like when these different disciplines are taught to be practiced, which we are called righteous, moral, ethical, dharmic, they are designed to lead us towards that oneness. And anything that takes us away, anger, hatred, jealousy, greed, violence, and all those things, they are the ones to be rejected. Somebody's mic is making some noise. Yeah. Okay. So that drawing with the center and the circle of the circle is what we are trying to go there. Brahman or Atman or God is that oneness. So in Vedanta, there are 2 points, 2 themes. One is called oneness of existence. Like the ocean behind all the waves. And the other one is called divinity of all beings. That means in all of them, there is a spiritual dimension. That is the essence. Okay, this part. That is the divine dimension of us. Everything is covered, body, mind, ego, buddhi, they are coverings, but the essential unchanging entity is this divine entity. And in there, everything becomes one. All the waves are one in that ocean. So these are the 2 fundamental pillars of Vedanta. And try to see that you'll find this, the whole building is sort of constructed on these concepts. So we're talking about those disciplines that I practice that are going to create vrittis in our mind. The vrittis are designed to be, that will be taking us to our, towards oneness. So we decided that if it is going anti-clockwise, then it's going to rise. If it's going clockwise, then it's going to go down. Therefore, we can describe that in this way, maybe like a spiral. So imagine there's like a spring, and there's an ant sitting on a particular spring, all right, a particular location. And Whether it's going up or down depends on the direction the ant will crawl. Okay, so now imagine that impetus to go up or down, that energy comes from that vritti. So you're practicing truthfulness, you're practicing non-violence, you're practicing all those things. They are like little steps that are making you climb up and up into that spring. And if you go in the opposite direction, then you are going down. And therefore, one has to be very, very alert about the impact of every thought, word, and deed. Which way is it taking us? That type of alertness and vigilance is necessary. Otherwise, you take one step up and 2 steps down, and everywhere it is sort of going. Does that make little sense about understanding what is happening in your mind? So these vrittis keep on adding up. All the blue ones will add up and make a total downward trend. All the green ones, all the samskaras, japa, meditation, goodness, charity, everything, kindness, compassion, doing, they are making an upward turn. And the sum of the blue ones, okay, the sum of the green ones plus gives you a result. And that is the character of a person. That is the nature of the person. That's what called the swabhava of the person. That swabhava, a person, the personality of a person is the sum total of all these vrittis, vasanas, and things he has been doing in thoughts, words, and deeds that has been collected from previous lifetimes and in this lifetime. And that big bundle now, the question is the resultant upwards? If it is upward, then you say that person is nice, is kind, his behavior is everything then is manifesting in a positive way. And if it is the net result is in the opposite direction, then you'll find the opposite manifestations in that person's words, what he speaks, what he does, and all those type of things. So you can see from this, we human beings are very, very complicated characters. Why? Because so many of these bundles and samskaras and things are there. And you cannot just take and wipe them all off. So in spiritual practice, when you practice japa and meditation, everything, we are trying to purify this mind, chitta shuddhi. The method is to counter the negative impressions. What would be the method here? Suppose somebody has got a vritti that is very undesirable. All right. He gets angry very quickly. You have that type of problem, people say, just, something is there, you get angry. And he says, I know I should not get angry, but what do I do? How do I control this anger? So what would be the remedy to that?
Patience.
Patience or coolness, calmness.
Patience is like you're not reacting, okay?
Be calm.
To do something positively, you have to counter that energy. How do you do that? If it's a room is dark, what do you do?
Put the light on.
You bring the light in. So light is opposite to darkness, isn't it? Okay, so if somebody is has a tendency to get very, very angry or like that, what would be the counter vritti that will, what type of vritti will counter that anger?
Happiness.
Happiness is opposite sadness. Okay, anger.
Okay. Calmness. You get angry or you stay cool, calm.
You want to, but how do you become calm? See, these are all practical problems people face in their everyday life. So it's good to apply this, because you might remember all the verses things, but this is some insight. They said, okay, everyone, I get angry so quickly. People come and say, no, but I don't want to do that. No, how do I manage myself? Anger management and all those things nowadays they teach, isn't it? So let us see
Yeah,
what type of anger management Vedanta will teach us.
So what do you? I mean, one of the things is you move away from the situation.
Okay, so you're just trying to avoid it for the time being, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do you positively? So suppose you see somebody and that person says something to you and you are angry with it. You can see anger rising and you don't like, I don't want to get angry because I lose control of myself. That's no good. How am I going to counter this?
Keeping
By
quiet.
detaching myself from the emotion
Yeah, see, look,
or the breath.
there's two principles that I have talked there. See, the framework has got a couple of ideas that are your, the go-to place all the time.
Think of God.
Nivritti.
Japa or
So what?
Be aware.
Be
You're talking
aware.
about
Who is saying be aware?
Oh, I said it, Swamiji.
Tell a little bit more. Just don't to tell your full sentence. You tell. Be aware of what?
Be aware where you're going. You know that you're getting angry. So you have to control yourself. Tell yourself that, look, I don't want to be like this.
And
So be
Baba,
aware.
how do we control it? You know you want to, but tell the method. How in your mind your anger is rising. Okay, it's not good. Now I'm that person is not the problem. The problem is the anger in my mind. That's the one I want to tackle, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's
That
your
person
mind has
might
to be controlled. Yeah. Control your mind, and the mind has to tell you, the buddhi has to tell you, this is not the way I react. So the conversation is there.
you are having a
Within
conversation
yourself.
with the mind, and what you will tell your mind?
That
Calm.
don't react. This is where you don't want to go. You
Calm
don't
down.
want to be in that. You don't want to get angry. You have
But
to
that person
control
is
it.
really teasing you, and really getting on your nerves. Okay.
So what? You have to be aware that that person is doing whatever he's doing. You have to be aware that you don't have to lose your mind.
Yeah.
You have to control your mind.
Yeah, that's
And
that's
the buddhi
that.
has to come in there. So, of course, if you want to get angry, you get angry. But you don't want to get angry, then it's within you. You don't get angry. You have to be aware.
So there are two things. That there is one thing is an end product. I don't want to get angry. All right.
Mm.
But what is the means not to get angry? That is what I'm asking the question. Okay. Let's
I
not.
need to change the topic of conversation with the person who is making me angry. I would want to take him in a route where his way of acting does not.
No, you're
make
not
me
going to
react.
converse him. He's not. You are going to see the person was just an occasion. He said something, and now you can see a vritti has happened in your mind. That vritti is not a good one. It's an anger one. Okay. Your problem now, the enemy is not out there. The anger is your enemy in your own mind. This is the one that's going to create problem for you. So you say, how do I neutralize this?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, otherwise we'll be blaming that person. He's not such a nice person. He made me angry. I could turn around and says, he has just shown you how weak and how less control on your own mind you have, that he says something and you have becomes affected. Don't blame him. It's your inability to maintain your own balance that's your problem. See, there are two ways of looking. One is blaming the outside world. The other one is to subjectively look and say. So in Vedanta, in spirituality, we always take this subjective approach. Don't try to control the world. You can't. Maybe to some extent we can do, walk away from that person or whatever. But whatever is happening in your own mind, that is the one to be controlled.
Swamiji, one of the thing is the prana. Prana can help to control the mind. Prana and mind are very closely related. So if somebody takes a deep breath, that's why they say that when you're angry or when somebody is insulting you, you just try to avoid reaction by just taking a deep breath and just absorb for a moment, at the moment.
Okay.
So that prana can help you. Actually, there's a relation between prana and mind. So that can be the first point of action.
Okay, so you start breathing deeply, calm yourself down and all that. Okay. But
Can't you laugh at him and say, "Oh, okay, don't worry." Can't you laugh at him and say,
you
he'll
can
give
laugh
you a
him.
slap?
See, we're still trying to attend the fellow outside. The solution is inside. How are you going to tell? Hey, look, I have given you 2 ideas. Those are the pillars that I'm trying to make you people come tell me. See?
But this is the top one. Oneness of existence and divinity of all beings.
So, all right.
So how does when he's angry, how does oneness of existence and
See yourself
divinity
in that person.
That's empathy. What
See
you
yourself in that person. And also, at some point, you would have acted similarly, angry or whatever. So if you see the Lord in the other person, and it's only a phenomenon or something that is creating such a situation, and by a step of seeing the divinity in all, and that God alone is coming in that form.
Okay, so you're bringing that idea of oneness. God is the one ocean. We are all Jivatmas out of the same Paramatma. Now, instead of seeing that person X, Y, and Z and is judging him by his behavior and how he's acting with you, you take that part out and you try to see beyond the facade of the personality and all that and say, who is the one inside him who's doing this to me? And is that really different from me?
Yeah, but I mean this you're looking from your point of sight, but
Yeah.
if the other guy is not aware of this, then what happens?
Yeah, but at least you are not reacting. Nah? Your issue here is to control your own anger. Nah? Okay.
Swamiji, that's quite idealistic. I mean, that would be the wonderful goal, but how the process to get to that goal? They have to be...
Idealistic means these are ideas. You have to put them practice. Otherwise, they always will remain philosophy and ideas.
But how? So it's meditation.
That's what I'm trying to ask you. See, if I tell you everything, so I'm trying to say, look, suppose you are sitting somewhere and somebody is coming and saying something that's making lose your balance. Okay, this is things happen in everyday life.
That's right.
All right, and you say, okay, how do I not let him put me in this miserable, angry state? How all my Gita, Upanishad and everything that I've been reading, meditating, can that come to me and help me maintain my balance?
So that is awareness, Swamiji. You need to be aware this is happening in you. So then only you can say this is a God in me and God in you.
Yeah, of course you are aware the anger is there. Okay, Jasu. You know that awareness is, of course, you're feeling that anger. All right. You also know this is not good for you. You don't want to go into a situation where you might react and say something that won't be so nice, or then you regret afterwards also. That can go in a bad direction also. So all those things, that awareness is there. But this anger is building up a little bit, see? All right. And you say, how do I handle this?
Learning in it, there might be some learning in it for us.
Learning in the anger?
Learning from the other person's anger.
Okay. Okay. What idea, without making it very idealistic and philosophical, like Kamil is saying, in a very simple way, we can bring to our mind and tell ourselves, hey, look at in this way. You see, what Gita and Vedanta is trying to do is give us a spiritual perspective to the world.
I think if we can just say that I am not my mind and I am that which is the consciousness, just keep repeating that inside, then I will detach myself from whatever is happening in my mind space.
It's actually quite fascinating to see yourself when you're angry.
Swamiji,
How
Preeti is
terrible
saying
you look.
emotional intelligence. Swamiji,
Eh?
Preeti is saying it's emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Yeah, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. Okay.
Yeah, so
All
you
right.
are your divinity has to come in and say, come
So
on, you know the right
if
thing.
if we want to say what is the essence of the Gita, what after reading all these 18 chapters, you finish and you said, oh, what do you, let me put
Yeah.
it this
So
way.
a buddhiman person would not react, right? They may respond in a very calm, calculated way. So there's a spectrum. So you have that at one end. And the other end is where you completely react. So how do you get yourself from one to the other side? That's the challenge. And that will really depend on how buddhiman you are, I think. That your buddhi is open so that you don't get caught by the emotions. The emotions don't dictate, but they do.
Yes. How? So after reading all this Gita and Upanishad, you have got so much knowledge that makes you buddhiman. Okay.
But then I won't be attending your class.
No, but I mean, you get buddhiman, but you have to use it. I mean, you
No, but
use
the
your
thing
buddhi.
is, it's very difficult to reach that level of where you don't react because, it's really, it requires a lot of faculties to be switched on.
So it's very difficult. Many things are very difficult in life, but we plod on very nicely. You study degree for 7 years, 5 years, and you never complain.
And you still don't get it.
And still sometimes don't get it. And then here, if you say a little bit of practice, oh, Swamiji is so difficult, after 2 days of meditation, they come and tell me how difficult it is to control the mind.
Yeah.
So, Swamiji,
Uh,
we can see Parashuram when Ram broke the Dhanush, he lost his control. So he was a realized man. So what do you think he did?
I do not know about his realization, so just so I can't really tell about that. But I know from what you say, he didn't have much control over his anger.
But when Parasuram got angry, Sri Ram talked to him very calmly. I mean, Lakshmana got angry. Yeah.
So, all right, let's not. That is all this day. Here in your everyday life, you go to work, somebody is there who is a bit irritable person, he passes a comment, it puts you, it happens, like that. And every day he's doing so. Every time he's simply working on to you. And you get angry at some point, reaction or something like that. School, somebody is teasing or children are bullying, all those things are happening, outside world is working. So if you want to have a spiritual solution to this, how do you counteract that wave or that vritti that is waking in your mind, and it's an anger, is I need to neutralize this. So in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where Yama and Niyama are taught, Yama are this ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha, the do's and don'ts, the first 2 steps of the Ashtanga Yoga, they are taught. Then Maharishi Patanjali talks about when these undesirable vrittis are beginning to arise in your mind. To counter that, you have to bring the opposite vritti, pratipaksha bhavana. Pratipaksha means opposite, something that will neutralize it. It's antidote. So if there's darkness, you don't go around fighting the darkness. You bring in the light and the darkness sort of goes away. All right. That means if there's weakness, you bring the strength within you. If your immune system is poor, you improve the immune system, then the virus is not going to infect you. That means you bring a change within yourself that counters the effect of the outside world within you. Then you can neutralize. So 2 ideas that are there. I was hoping that somebody was leading to that slowly. One is the idea of this oneness. So you see, Christ is being crucified. And what does he say? He practices forgiveness. They know not what they do. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Okay, that is one, he has got that understanding that these people are working from an ignorant perspective. In ignorance, they are doing this to me. Therefore, I should forgive them. Okay.
So what, you forgive them, or you just ignore them, or what?
Well, if you can ignore them, if you can forgive them, that's even higher. But that is Christ one. Here, the one that I want to talk. Suppose somebody is affecting you, and you said, shall I react to that or not? So anger is a reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know that every time you react, you lose your balance. Okay. Therefore, one should not react. That's the goal, to be not affected and reacting by it. How do we do that? To have the underlying awareness of what that person is. Who is in there?
It is forbearance.
Patience?
Forbearance. Actually, forbearance.
Yeah. So that other person, so the reaction is because you think that that other person is other. Now let me tell you this way. You are eating food and you bite your tongue. Okay, it happens sometimes. Do you get very angry with yourself? Not so angry, na? Because it's your own tongue, na? Your own teeth bit you, not somebody else. Isn't it? That means you're one entity, not two. So if you can assert that, bring in the idea of that oneness, that is another wave in that same ocean. That person is not other than me. Or you might say, like Maithili was saying, that you recognize the presence of the same divine in that person also. That Narayana is in me, is in the other one also. But he is a Chor Narayan, Daku Narayan, whatever, but Narayan factor is there. That means that oneness idea somehow you have to bring in there, to recognize that that other person is not really you, different from you. Ultimately, same jiva is there in that other person also. To the same hand with same body with two hands. If you are clapping, the hands are, they don't understand that belonging to the same body, then he's saying he's hitting me, na? But if you're part of the same body, then they said we're part of the same thing. So you'll see that wherever the idea of that oneness is there, in your family, all brothers and sisters, if somebody says something, then you say, you are the same family. The moment you bring that one idea, you find that the effect goes down. But if there is some the idea of otherness, then there's a reaction to it. Sri Ramakrishna gives that example, an uncle. So this is how Maya works actually. Maya creates the idea of a difference. And that difference causes to react very strongly. To counter that, you have to bring out the knowledge, the Vedanta knowledge of oneness. And the moment you can do that, you will find that the reaction that comes because of the difference becomes less, because the idea of that oneness comes in there. And if you introduce that idea of the divinity in there, well, it's God in that particular form, and he's playing around with me. Now he's trying to tease me. You see? So if you recognize the divine in that person, somebody was saying, have that awareness. You say, have the recognition of the presence of the same divine in all beings. Would that help you?
I mean, if he's getting angry at you, how can you look at him as a oneness?
He is not getting angry. You are getting angry because he is making you angry, na?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is saying something in a very way. You say he is angry. But is he angry or we are angry?
Because you said the other person is angry.
Okay. No, the other person is saying something, you know, but the anger is a reaction that is in your mind. Okay. And you know it's not good. So you can say, Sri Ramakrishna, one example is there. He says, I told last time, an uncle puts on a mask and comes and scares a little nephew, you know, it's a frightful mask. So the first reaction, fear comes. Oh, he jumps up. And then he recognizes the uncle. Oh, you are there. The moment that recognition comes, that fear disappears. You see? So the moment we can bring the idea in our mind, and it's not very easy, but it takes some time through practice, that in every form, good, bad, ugly around there, that same divine presence is in the ocean. My goal is to recognize and realize that oneness behind the many. And I have trained myself through my practice in Japan, meditation and contemplation and all those things to hold and anchor myself, because that's where the center, that's where I'm anchored there. And as much as I can return to that anchor, the less I will be affected or be thrown off the balance. But if you let go, and the difference becomes small, if you fly away from further, this becomes small. You see, the closer you come, the difference becomes less and less and less. Ultimately, everything becomes one. The idea is that this powerful idea of that one divine behind the many, that is the savior, and that is called, Swami Vivekananda says, Vedanta is what? Vedanta is the deification of the world of names and forms of people. Externally, they appear as all the varieties that we see, but at the core is the same divine deity, Brahman, God, Paramatman, that dwells in the heart of the whole being. That oneness is the antidote, so to say, to have that spiritual perspective. At least that will prevent you from reacting. Will that help? Suppose at work you have somebody who is making angry, then you remind yourself, okay, whatever it is, in ignorance we do all these things, but behind all of us is the same power, conditioned by all these minds, but really we are not two, really we are one. Or is it too difficult?
I think it helps in a way.
Yeah. So see, what else you can do? What else you can do? Otherwise, you can by force, somehow bite your tongue and, whatever you do and try to restrain yourself. But at some point, you might not be able to restrain, and everything will just come out in a big blast way, The problem is not with the person, remember. The problem is what is happening in our mind space, remember. The anger is in your own mind. That's the one we are trying to deal with. The other one could be a cause. And so you bring the opposite idea. And the two then work and neutralize each other, so to say. Swami Vivekananda says, suppose somebody is very, very angry, okay? Father is very, very angry. And suddenly, in that anger, somebody puts the little child in the father's lap. Immediately, the moment his attention is turned to the child, where that love and affection comes, immediately that anger disappears. You see? So the vritti of that love and affection from the child totally neutralized that anger vritti that was there at that moment. Anger was based on difference. Love and affection is that oneness, my own child, that affection and all those things are there. Anyway, these are problems that everyone has, interacting with the world and everything.
Sometimes we can say, oh, the other guy doesn't know much about what he's talking about. I mean, in your mind, you think that, what he's talking about is no use. I mean, he doesn't have that intellect to think about.
So suppose some drunkard is there, okay, and he says something like swears at you. What is your reaction? You forgive him, say he's not in his proper senses. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't take it very seriously because he's not in his proper understanding. So you might have that perspective. This person is doing things, he probably hasn't read the Gita and Upanishad, and is not a very spiritual person. So that is how he's constituted. That doesn't mean that I will react to it also. I will hold my balance, but bringing in that idea of the Vedanta ideas in there. Somehow we have to be in that, grounded in that higher self or that knowledge.
Maharaj, initially it will be difficult,
Of
but
course.
with effort and learning and satsang and constant studies of the scriptures and saints and sayings, slowly we can improve our behaviors to not react.
So here's a very simple example. Let us do an experiment. For this whole next week, when you go out in the world, traveling in the train, in the car, at workplace, and this and that, and you say, I'm going to remind myself two things. One, that everyone that I see externally as so many people, male, female, black, brown, white, whatever is there, I will remind myself that they are all different waves in the same ocean, just like I'm another wave. But behind both of us, there is that same universal consciousness. Is it possible to do that?
Yeah.
It's not very difficult. I'm seeing the difference. My senses are saying different people, but my spiritual understanding is that I'm going to tell that behind all these forms, there is one ocean of consciousness. I'm going to remind myself that one idea again. And second idea is that that's a divine presence behind it. So this idea of oneness and divinity, you are just going around in any situation. See how many times in the day you can give yourself a count. And so every time you do that, that's creating one of the samskaras. Okay, you're creating a spiritual samskara, a spiritual vritti in your mind. But when no one is actually disturbing you, things are good, you're building on that one idea. And if you keep on practicing all the time, that awareness that Joshua was saying, awareness of the divine and the oneness behind everything, that will become so powerful that when the situation of an anger or something comes, this very strong vritti that you have been working on through as a sadhana. This is sadhana also. Sadhana doesn't mean just simply doing when you're alone quiet. You're out there interacting with the world, but building on that. You'll find that particular idea will come to your rescue, and it's ready, available to you there, because it's not just a small weak vritti. You have built it up in a very powerful way, and it'll help you keep you grounded. Later on, when you come back and home, you analyze yourself and say, how did the day go? Okay, and you say, oh, in such a situation, I lost my balance and my cool, or this and that. And you analyze, why did that happen? Or if I had access and remembered this one idea of oneness and the divine nature behind everything and everyone, maybe that would have prevented me. And so that knowledge in that way is a very, very powerful savior in our everyday life. This is what practical Vedanta is, actually. Applying that knowledge in actual situation. Anyone can keep calm and silent in a cave or in a meditative room. The challenge is to go out in the world and see whether you are able to hold on to that idea or not. And the world will give you the feedback, how good we are. And you take it in that particular way and say thank you to somebody who has made you angry. You might come back and say, oh, I got a feedback that I really have to do some work on myself. So you don't blame others, but you work on your own self, basically. But hold on, I lost that. So do you think that idea can be practiced?
Yes.
Yes.
Try that.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah.
Even in
Yeah.
the whole day, even if you remember 5 times, I'll tell you one thing. Every time you remember, even for 1 second, if it comes, you will feel a thrill of joy. That's good. It has come. It has come. You see, this is the test. And you might want to have different types of ways to remind you. Put a wallpaper on your phone or some message comes up, or write a piece of something in a notebook, or just something that will bring you back to that idea in normal times, in good times. And then it will be a great help in difficult times also.
I mean, sometimes we try this, but we don't think that, I mean, what is the real point behind it? I mean, sometimes when somebody gets angry, we try to keep ourselves calm, but that oneness or existence and this divinity, that time it doesn't come. But I mean, in a way, we are practicing it, see?
Yeah, so again, so that's the, otherwise what's the point of all these ideas if it doesn't help us in our everyday life, isn't it? It has to be made practical. So let's try this out. And at the time of your Japan meditation, of course, we're trying to meditate on our own divine self. And of course, when you're praying for others and everything, we are trying to assert that oneness, good welfare of everyone also. The whole world, good, bad, ugly, everyone, behind all that is the same divine principle. Somewhere it's manifested more, somewhere it is less, but underlying, those are on the surface. Behind, below, or the depth, that oneness, a spiritual oneness where we all are one. That is the central theme of Vedanta. Oneness of existence, divinity of all beings, deification of the world. If we can keep these three principles in front of our mind, remind ourselves on that, meditate on that, think about that, and apply and see the world through that perspective, you'll find that a lot of things can be managed. And that's where your buddhi comes. Buddhi comes means how alert we are. That power of discrimination. Eyes are showing me something, but my mind, spiritual knowledge is showing me something else, telling me something else, and I want to apply that knowledge. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah, so think in that line. Try just out and see how the day goes. At the end of the day, you take a stock analysis and all that. But be vigilant and try to see in a detached way those little whirlpools that are being created in our mind all the time. And make sure that we try to constantly connect ourselves to some higher, better, positive energy, whether it's meditating on some form of God, repeating a mantra, contemplating or chanting a stotra, listening to a bhajan. Mind, we want to constantly connect to some higher idea all the time. Okay, and of course, this idea of thinking of that oneness, divinity, they all are talking about the same entity. So constantly we are trying to remind ourselves of that one divine existence and engage our mind internally rather than externally. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of things to be done there. Try to work on that. This is actually the real part of the practice. Everything is only instructions, how we are going to apply. That is the fun part. And it might be a little difficult in the beginning, like everything is. But when you get into the rhythm of things and the ideas keep on popping up, then you appreciate the power of these spiritual teachings. Okay. Let us call it a day today.
Thank you, Swamiji. Huh?
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tassat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.